Hi, let's take a few minutes on this video and talk about the amount of carbs you should be eating. It's a question that I get asked a lot, and I know it's a big thing that's kind of floating around with all of the low carb diets out there and keto, Atkins, low carb, high fat. Is this a good idea? How many carbs should you be eating? So I want to first start by saying that this video is intended to be good information for most people. I have a practice where I have clients that I work with one-on-one, and not everybody is exactly the same. So I'll just preface that. You probably already knew that. But anyway, let's talk about how many carbs you should be eating. I think that we need to do two things when we ask that question. We need to balance the need for someone to have a low carbohydrate diet that doesn't keep spiking their insulin levels and causing this release of insulin and make them become pre-diabetic or eventually diabetic. We need to address that. And that's why the keto diet or the Atkins diet or any kind of low carbohydrate diet is super successful, because it does that. The other thing we have to do with our diet is we want to make sure we're getting enough nutrients, right? That's why we eat, is to fuel our bodies. So the downside of using some of those really low carbohydrate diets is sometimes I see, unfortunately, people completely rule out like all fruit for long periods of time, and they're missing out on some of the nutrients. And although you can say that these nutrients are available in vegetables, most people don't eat enough of them. So we end up with this situation where even though now we're improving our insulin response, we are not doing a great job at getting all the nutrients we need. So I have spent years talking to people, working with people, and coming up with the percentages that I think marry these two things together really well. The need to fuel your body with the right nutrients, but also to improve your sensitivity to insulin and your metabolic flexibility and those kinds of things. And what I advocate for is a 25-25-50 split. And it's 25% carbohydrate, 25% protein, and 50% fat. And you can refer to my blog on drjeni.com, drjeni.com, and it goes into a lot more detail than I'm going to do in this video. But just the quick flyby version of this is that the 25% protein is kind of a fixed number. You can just only absorb so much until it becomes really hard on your kidneys to process any more protein. So over the years, you'll see that the experts have almost always agreed that somewhere between 20 and 30% of your calories coming from protein is the right answer. So you've got that. And then the next thing is that fat. 50% of your diet should come from healthy fats. I'm talking about things like coconut and coconut products, avocado products, flax seeds, chia seeds, fatty fish like wild-caught salmon, grass-fed beef, organic chicken, pastured eggs, grass-fed butter, nuts that are not roasted in a vegetable oil, just either dry roasted or raw nuts. And I'm not talking about things like vegetable oils, peanut oils, corn oils, things like that are very inflammatory and just not really a good source of fat, honestly. And just all the processed junk food. Like I see some of these like keto diets, and it's like, here, let's eat 5 bags of pork rinds. And even though we don't have any carbs, I'm thinking, do you really want to eat that? But, if it's in a processed bag or a box or a can, you probably don't want to eat it. You probably want to stick to whole, real foods that have nutrients in them. So 50% healthy fat, 25% protein. So that leaves us with 25% carbohydrate. And if you think of your macros, that's what each one of these things is, a macronutrient: your fat, your protein, and your carbs. If you think of it like a big a pie, there's only 3 things that can be in that pie. It's fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. And so if you have more carbs, you can really you have to have, if you have more carbs, you have to have less fat. And the protein always stays around that 20 to 30, right in that 25% area. So that's why years and years ago, low-fat diets were all the rage. And I just really don't think those were healthy. And if you look at the diseases that we have running around now, you will start to see and agree with me, like, why is half the country diabetic if a low-fat diet was the way to go? It's not, because you've got that pie, right? So less carbs is more fat is less carbs. That's how it works. So you've got this. Now we're left with, if we do the 25% protein and the 50% fat, we've got 25% carbs left. So that's where a lot of your nutrition in terms of nutrients, minerals, and vitamins comes from vegetables. Primarily that 25% should be vegetables, and a little bit of fruit thrown in there. I tell people, if they're eating 4, 5, 6, 8 servings of vegetables a day, and then they have 1, maybe 2 pieces of fruit, and they try to keep it to berries and lower sugar fruits. Avocado is actually a fruit. Tomatoes are a fruit. People don't think that. You don't want to put that in a fruit salad, but it is a fruit. So use that 25% to really get a lot of bang for your buck in terms of nutrients. And if you will focus on that, you'll find that the grains just kind of get squeezed out and there's no place for them. So things like breads, rices, pastas, crackers, all that kind of stuff, if you're focusing on getting a lot of quality nutrition in that 25% carbs, you're not going to have a lot of extra room for that. So, and I think when you give yourself 25% carbs, which if you've been living in the keto world, that sounds like a ton of carbs, but it allows you to eat things like an apple every once in a while, sweet potatoes, carrots, beets, squashes, things that are a little bit, butternut squash, that are a little bit higher in carbohydrate but really healthy. Even some things like lentils and beans that really help fuel the healthy digestive environment and gut environment, that I think if you allow yourself that amount, you balance really nicely the need to maintain good blood sugar handling, but also get the nutrients that promote health. So for a diet that's about 1,600 calories a day, so that would be a moderately active woman would eat about that many calories a day. That's about 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbohydrate, and 89 grams of fat, in that range. For someone who needs 2,000 calories a day, that would be more men, really active women. I would recommend 125 grams of carbs and 125 grams of protein, and then about 111 grams of healthy fats. So that's just a general ballpark. You can get an app on your phone. You can track it. There's all kinds of macro trackers and really cool gadgets that'll do that. I just write it in a notebook if I'm journaling or doing it like that, but I've used all the trackers and all that stuff too. But once you, and I think that's helpful at first until you sort of get in this groove where you understand that, and then eventually you'll just know you'll think, okay, well, I can eat this and that, and I can have an apple, but then I can't have a sweet potato also, because that's a lot. And you'll get in a groove, and it's really easy once you get used to it. But anyway, I hope that you found that helpful, and that feels like a good common sense balance of how do I, I've been thinking that I want to go low carbohydrate, but I'm worried that I'm excluding whole groups of food like fruit, and how do I balance all that together? So that's my answer to that. Thanks for watching.